financial reports how much we actually have received, but it all came in September, it didn't come in August. And then if you take a look at the budget, for in the budget revision, I will see actual amount of parking revenue received there. I'll put it in there for you there. But we are now doing it on a regular basis. I think as of August, the number
Per month.
no, 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And I didn't. Where would I saw BZA on the line items, but I didn't see BZA. I remember I asked for training dollars.
What's that?
So
I only saw one mobile.
It's not what they pay out.
yeah. Budgeted, then,
Apparently I'm the only person who has access to it. You can't get on it. I don't think
if I couldn't get
Alyssa can get on it.
okay, you're live.
Okay, good evening. I want to call to order. Thank you. I want to call to order the October 13, 2025 Harpers Ferry Town Council meeting to order. Would you all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You don't have any, Kevin? Comment? You don't have a comment? There's none out there, so. Okay, approval of agenda. Council, I want to recommend that we move 7A as in Adam, 7A Adam, which is discussion and action regarding enforcing or rescinding provisions of Article 909. I want to move that just to proceed, that it will precede 5B12, which is discussion and action regarding the tree commission budget. It'll make sense when I get there that we do 7A first, and then we go to the actual discussion and action regarding snow removal contract for the 2025 season. It'll all make sense when I get there.
Second.
Is there any other additions or recommendations for the agenda? A motion to approve as amended. We have that from David. We have a second from Storm. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Now, there is no public comment. I do not have any specific announcements except spending the last 7 hours in the car. Recorders, Kevin?
Yes. Twitten Askinahan. This Tuscarora sentence, meaning, "Are you still at peace?" is the traditional expression in their language for greeting one another. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. This day commemorates the historic original inhabitants of our modern United States. The legacy of the indigenous peoples of West Virginia extends back at least 10,500 years, with several identified tribes inhabiting our area. The first known settlers here were members of the Adena culture, which lasted until around the year 100 of the Common Era. Later, the land on which we sit was inhabited alternately by the Algonquin and Shawnee people and various Iroquoian tribes. That latter group includes the Tuscarora people, who were the last indigenous Americans to occupy this area, and whose language I just greeted you all in a moment ago. In 2016, by unanimous resolution of the Town Council of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry, the second Monday of each October was declared Indigenous Peoples Day to honor the memory of these traditional inhabitants of Harpers Ferry.
Thank you.
Can you say the greeting again?
Planting Askinahan.
What
I
does
had
it
to
mean?
watch a video
What is
to.
What does it mean again?
Are you still at peace?
Very good, Kevin.
Oh, that's a good one.
Hilltop, Andrew, you? I guess not. Park Service, nothing. Any community announcements from any member of the community announcement? Okay,
Nothing from the Park Service?
It's a
We're not
holiday,
working.
they don't often come on. They don't usually come when we meet on a holiday.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, approval of minutes. Kevin, you got September 8th?
Yes.
Okay,
So that was distributed to everybody.
oh,
Approve the minutes for September 8th.
okay. Is there a second on the motion for September 8th, second from Christian, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve? Opposed, motion carries 6-0. September 11,
There's actually two September sets of
yeah.
special meeting minutes, which were distributed to you all.
Kevin, go ahead and take the floor on that and walk us through those.
Okay, so the first one is the 11th September 2025 special meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as good.
A second on the motion, second from Storm, discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0, motion carries 6-0. Go ahead, Kevin.
And the next one is 16th September 2025.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Thank you. Second, and we have a second from David. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, opposed, motion carries 6-0. Okay, town reports, 5A, treasurer's reports and approvals. Number 1, review and approval of financial reports, August 2025. Debbie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This month's financials close August 2025, the second month of fiscal 26, representing 17% of the year. The budget revision is number 1. In the general fund, our fund balances total 1.2 million, and our operating income is 1.177 million. The income that you see is of 247,000, then represents 20% of the year. This does not include the parking revenue that was received in September for June and July, adding which comes in July and August, which added 41,000 to the budget. So you'll see all that plus what we received in September next month. So if we add that 41,000 into the income that you do receive, that brings us up to 288,000 or 24% for the year. Expenses are approximately 20% for the year. In waterworks, water billings are 15.7%, and overall revenue is 15%. Expenses are 15%. Any questions?
Expenses are 20% after 2 months?
Yeah, so there's a couple of one-time, well, we're at 17% of the year after 2 months, so it's 3% more than
More, yeah.
what would be completely average. And then the other thing that happens is that there are a few payrolls that are shared with waterworks, so I don't really, I build them up over a quarter and then I cut the share out. So You're seeing a little bit of that.
Okay.
There's some little things like that that you kind of show up a little bit now because it is so low.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we, like, what are our worst, most expensive quarters? Where do we spend our money? Is it pretty even throughout the year?
I would say that it's fairly even throughout the year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, revenue's more variable, like when state taxes.
Yes, that's true.
Thanks.
All right, motion to approve. We have a Storm. Is there a second on the motion to approve? Second from Jesse. Discussion on a motion to approve the financials. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Approval of invoices and purchases. Debbie?
Right, so you have a list, the actuals are on the table there. Any questions on anything that was in the list?
Hold on. Was this 5A?
Got it.
Uh,
So,
5A2.
and here's the,
Yeah.
the list isn't there.
JSB Potomac.
That is the Jefferson Securities Bank funds, 50,000 that was moved from an account with the town council approved last month into our general fund.
Okay,
It was the Potomac.
yeah, but that's
street
not,
fund.
that's not on this list.
Well, it's in the check detail.
Oh, okay, so, yes, that's true, that's what that is, but what you're approving now is items that are over the purchasing threshold for the month, yep.
And that, I guess that's the question, is why is that on there?
Well, because the check was written as a certified check directly from the bank based on a motion that you all made last month.
Okay.
Do that, yep.
Good questions. Good questions.
Yep, absolutely.
Move to approve the invoices and purchases as presented.
Thank you, Storm. There's a second on the motion. We have a second from Christian. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Kevin? Budget and Finance Committee, discussion and action regarding WDA grant and approval of resolution number 11. Storm?
Yeah. So the WDA distribution line project is coming to a close. The associated paving by TerraWorks has been completed. And that will necessitate a pay application that will be a motion at the end of this update. The pressure reducing valve is still outstanding. We're hoping for the first or third week of November, feeling that it would have to be sometime January or onward, so we don't disrupt the merchants in December. So the bond payments for this project will begin in November, and we need to draw down the total amount of what we want to draw down by the end of October because we are under budget. However, it's unclear at this point by how much. We don't know how much additional funds we could draw down. We're working on getting those numbers. We should have them soon. And we'd be able to assign these funds to other waterworks projects. But we do not yet have a solid list of what they are because we don't have a firm idea of the scale of the funds. So to do that, a special town council meeting will need to be held before the end of October to determine the amount of the bonds that we would draw down and what projects we would assign it to.
But one of the projects is going to be the pressure reducer valve you just talked about. So that's not going to, we're not going to be able to.
That's already in what we are planning to spend. These are funds that even when you factor in all the paving that's been done, the pay application that will go out, plus pressure reducing valve, that there will still be some amount to be determined.
You just sort of have to change order stuff now. It's just the bookkeeping.
Okay.
Yeah. So that brings us to the resolution 11.
Okay, so resolution number 11 of the town of Harpers Ferry approving invoices relating to construction and other services for the water project and authorizing payment thereof. Whereas the town of Harpers Ferry has reviewed the invoices attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference in relation to the construction of the water project funded by the West Virginia Water Development Authority EECG funds and CNB Bank Construction Trust funds, and finds as follows: 1, that none of the items for which payment is proposed have been requested from another source. 2, that each item for which the payment is proposed to be paid is or was necessary in connection with the project and constitutes the cost of the project. 3, that each of such costs has been otherwise properly incurred, or that payment for each of the items proposed is due and owing. Now therefore be it resolved by the town of Harper's Ferry that the payment of the attached invoices as summarized below are hereby authorized and directed. GD&F $9,124.63 from CMB. TerraWorks $442,566.90 for a total of $451,691.53 adopted by the town council of the town of Harper's Ferry at a meeting held on, and I'm correcting this to the 13th of October. It says the 11th on the paperwork.
I move to approve WDA grant resolution number 11 as presented.
Second to approve the motion, second from Jesse. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion to approve? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Discussion action regarding, this would be 5B, number 2, discussion action regarding the water meter CDS project. I'd like to try to keep this in the clear if possible, Storm. If we have to go into executive session, hopefully we won't have to.
Don't anticipate we'll need to. This is very exciting as far as infrastructure projects go. So the bid opening occurred. We had 3 responses. Fortiline, which is the vendor for Camstruck. Camstruck acoustical meters is the lowest bid at $574,773.42. Well short of the $625,000 project amount. And that includes all of the alternate features, including having the large water meters, AMI reading, in addition to the power, in addition to the drive-by, acoustic leak detection, and a customer portal. So basically everything that we put out there is included in that. 2 other vendors also bid. Neither was able to offer all of the alternate features, and they still came in higher. So the team determined that indeed the Fortiline bid was clearly the best. And there will be some ongoing costs for maintaining the licenses for tower communications and software, which will be around $18,500 a year. That will start in 2027. So that's not included in this bid. That is an ongoing cost. And the other ones also had ongoing costs, which were more or less in the same neighborhood. Now, in addition to this contract, there will also be soft costs associated with the project. But even with those included, we're still going to be well under the $625,000 budget. Now, one potential wrinkle is we have 90 days to make this award, and it must be approved by the EPA. And of course, the federal government is currently shut down. So I will cross our fingers on that. Also want to note that this project, $500,000 of it is coming from the EPA. We also are receiving $125,000 match from Governor Morrissey's office, meaning that there are no repair funds, no town funds going into this project. And most importantly, it means that no rate increase will be required for this. So that's very exciting. So indeed, Budget and Finance did recommend that we award the meter contract to Fortiline pending review by the EPA. So I move to award the water meter project, including all the alternates, to Fortiline Waterworks per their bid in the amount of $574,773.43.
Is there a second on the motion? A second from Jesse. Discussion.
Now, can I make a point? You should probably also authorize the mayor to execute the notice to proceed, so that particularly with this shutdown, you could do it in a separate motion if you wanted.
Yeah, let's do that. So it's I move. Oh, I guess we need to deal with this motion.
Right.
Yeah. Is there any other discussion on the main motion? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Dave?
so the meters they're offering, all 3 bidders offer the same acoustic meters.
No, I don't know if there's 1 or 2 that were acoustic, and 1 was magnetic. So none of them were turbine.
Do we have any like history from other jurisdictions using these meters?
Yes.
Yes.
The basic comprehensive information about past projects, including contact information for project leads, stuff like that. They're very bold about their accomplishments.
Okay, and we feel pretty good about like you guys better than that.
I read the whole thing twice.
You have it in your email, but I have it here if anybody does want to take
Yeah.
a deeper. Jesse read the whole thing. I read the whole thing. Our engineer read all 3 of the whole things.
And engineer is recommending Fleur line as well.
You're going for council member of the year.
This is
Now,
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the main motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Go ahead, Storm.
sorry, I'm authorizing you for something, but I didn't write down exactly
Move
what.
to authorize the mayor to execute the notice to proceed pending EPA approval of the award.
Sorry, this paw doesn't work very well right now. Move to authorize the mayor to execute the notice to proceed pending EPA approval of the award.
Here's a second on the motions. Second again from Jesse. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Discussion and action regarding the update of CDS funding for future years. Storm.
This is just a short update. So the fiscal year 26 CDS request has been picked up by both Senators Capito and Justice, but for a little bit less than what we requested. The shutdown potentially puts it in limbo, as all things, but we'll see. And this is where we do have the Prospect Avenue boosting pump as part of this request.
Any questions for Storm on that? Okay. Number 4, discussion action regarding maintenance of mains contracting. Storm.
Yeah, so right now this means meter pits. So the town council has already approved the work to be conducted with the funds coming from Renew and Replace Fund. However, depending on what happens with the excess funds from the WDA project, it may end up being funded from that, and we wouldn't need to draw down from Renew and Replace within the Waterworks budget.
Any question for Storm on that one? Okay. Discussion and action regarding town street paving.
Yep, so this is now for town council in the hands of the mayor, the maintenance department, whose name is Larry, Jesse, and the public works administrator, who will be meeting to develop the hot patch list.
Okay. I just will say that we have had a preliminary meeting, and assignments were given out. When was that? The last Thursday or whatever. Getting costs, renting equipment, and then we'll see where that comes in. But it's going to be incredibly less expensive than the bid that came in for an astronomical amount of money.
So we did go on Friday, Steve and Larry and I, and we went through everything on the list again. And we found the places that we can definitively address with hot patch that Larry feels are within his technical capabilities, and we have that list. I'm not sure if Larry or Steve has it, but I also have a copy of it. I can send you. But where we were, Larry is still put together the total
Okay.
materials.
So I'll wait on that, and then we can bring that up at a special meeting. Great.
What percentage of the?
I don't know, Jesse, what percent of the?
Oh, it's a substantially reduced project. You know, it's only dealing with the things that don't require any milling. So anywhere where the pavement is all alligatored up, that's you know, requires big machinery and big money. And we're also not going to do any removal of the existing surfaces. So if it's you know, like in the bid, if they required to cut places out to make round hole square, we skipped all those too. So I mean, I don't
Can't put a number on it.
you know, about a third, you know, is of the list, and that you know, it's a tricky question. I don't want to put a number on it. Because I mean, I can calculate it by surface area and make it look a lot better, you know.
I wasn't looking for a mathematics.
Now, then, pick the holes that people have complained about.
Yeah.
Where the ones they complained about, the ones we can fix, were the focus.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Discussion only regarding update on the Alpha Engineering proposal for Henry Clay Street. Storm.
Yeah, so we discussed this, and we had the office administrator in the discussion just to see where we were. The Alpha Engineering proposal, very high. So the office administrator suggested we might reach out to KCI Engineering, which was the team that engineered Potomac Street, to see if they might be able to advise and potentially bid on the Henry Clay project, at least for the engineering.
Okay, and I'll follow up on that with Patty. A discussion action regarding funding for the 2025 Art and Park event.
Yeah, these are all, the next, I think it's 5 items, are all things that were approved by the prior town council, so now they're coming to the point where they will need to spend these funds. The first one is Art in the Park. Move to approve up to $600 to support the 2025 Art in the Park event out of 9 and 6 Arts and Humanities.
Second on the motion, second from David. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Storm.
I move to approve up for the 2025 Halloween event. I move to approve up to $260 to support the 2025 Halloween event out of 402 Economic Development.
A second. We have a second from Christian. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0.
Pumpkin roll.
Pumpkin roll.
Move to approve up to $450 to support the 2025 Pumpkin Roll event out of 402 Economic Development.
A second. Second, Jesse. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0.
Tree lighting. Move to approve up to $50 to support the 2025 tree lighting event out of 402 Economic Development.
Second. Second from David. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0.
And the last one of this string, Cookie Walk. I move to approve up to $250 to support the 2025 Cookie Walk event out of 402 Economic Development.
Second. Second from Jesse again. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, 12, discussion and action regarding the tree commission budget.
Yes. So the chair of the tree commission came and sat with Budget and Finance, and we had asked her to present the list of projects that have been vetted, and it worked out to be a total of $13,750 for all of the hazardous trees that were deemed to be more immediate hazards, and these would be trees that would be removed. And then the total, if you also add corrective pruning to get ahead of trees that may become hazards, would be $16,415. Now with this, there is a matching program that returns funds based both on what the town spends as well as volunteer hours. So they will actually pay us based on volunteer hours as well, which would mean that about $9,000 would come back to us off of that, as much as $16,415. Now, multiple vendors were said to have been contacted. However, we did not get that report at this point. We were shown the work list. At this point, I don't think we've seen the list from the vendor themselves. And it's important to note that this amount is a very low amount because it is one deployment. If these were to be done one tree at a time, it would be a fraction of what we would be able to do. And let's see. And yes, if we were to approve this, then this would be part of a budget revision that is coming up. So before I make the motion, is it clear like what this ask is basically to fund the tree commission?
Go one more time.
Okay, so precipitated by there were a few trees that came down, one that hit a car. We had looked at, we'd asked the tree commission to present, okay, what are the trees that are real hazards here that we would need to address to prevent any harm to people, property, town liability. So the tree commission had developed a list, brought it to Budget and Finance. And those numbers that I cited were the costs for doing either just the most critical hazardous ones, that could be the next ones to drop a limb on the sidewalk. That was $13,750, or to also include crown pruning to get ahead of other trees that could become a hazard in the near term, that would be $16,415. Now, from that
Not
number,
on top of the 13. It's
No,
okay,
that's
additional
total.
3K. Okay, thanks.
and then the tree commission puts in for a grant, and if all that comes through, we could subtract 9,000 net. However, those funds, we would still need to pay it out from the outset, and we would be reimbursed from that grant. So is that a little clearer? My notes were not great.
Go ahead, David.
So have we, and that's not in the budget right now. That wasn't approved last year to be in this year's budget.
Portion is, I believe, 5,000.
There was some money put in there for tree work, but the program with the grant was not part of the budget. So
And
that's
that
why the
was-
revision is reflecting that.
And that was part of when we were looking at the budget last year, looking at how bad is it going to be, are we going to see a drop off? So that was one of the things that we dropped back to be added later, and it came up now because of the liability issue. I believe there have been 3 significant tree falls from trees that are in the town right of way. So that is really what initiated this, is the town liability, and that's where we're at.
There's the initial liability because it's on a list now. You know, if there's a hazardous tree that we know about and it does cause a problem, we've got a much larger problem. So we're kind of in a spot.
And we'll say, oh, go ahead, Dave.
Have we done this before? Like this extensive tree
not.
kind of maintenance?
I am not.
Not the Euro.
No, but it's been the case that there have not been funds to do this
Yeah.
kind of thing, and it's just kind of fallen off. And you know, not having to talk about trees that are on private property, we can't do anything about that. But it's becoming a significant issue. There was at least one power outage last week because a tree fell down across Church Street. Like, these are things that we cannot say this is an emergency that we can just say, you know, call them up, get them right away. But it's as close to a crystal ball as you can get.
And the other thing you should, if we do deal with these on a case by case emergency basis, the costs are astronomical.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They want a whole day's work or whatever. They want
Yeah.
a big span of the day.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just, and then maybe that 3K maintenance is something we're gonna have to start thinking about every year.
Oh, yeah, well, we
We do
put
it.
something in every
Every
year,
year,
and
yeah.
usually there is a grant match. There was a question about whether we were gonna have a grant match this year. So that's another reason that the funds were limited in the 26 budget originally. And you can, in subsequent revisions, if you want to add more into the tree commission contracted work, we can do that above and beyond what is being allocated now.
Though this should put us ahead of the game, the tree commission is only able to do, with the budget we assigned, a little bit here, a little bit there. This is the, oh yeah, if we could do all these, then we'd be in very good shape. And ahead of things if we also include the crown pruning.
Yeah.
So, and I will say that there's still some, per the town's purchasing processes, there's some paperwork that we still need to get before we actually be able to enter into a contract. And I've devised a motion that takes that into account. So I move to assign $16,500 to the tree commission, which is expected to be offset by federal grant funds of $9,000 for conducting the tree work pending receipt of the appropriate documentation.
I'll second it.
You did, you second. Okay, thanks, Christian. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay. All right, now we're going to go to 7A, discussion and action regarding enforcing or rescinding provisions of Article 909. I don't know if you all had a chance, but let me get them down there.
I've seen it.
As Jesse passes them down, turn to page 2. This is our current article that covers this. It's 909.04. All owners or occupants of property within the town shall remove or cause to be removed the snow from sidewalks adjacent to the property within 4 hours after the snow has ceased to fall, provided however that should the snow fall during the night or on a Sunday, it shall be removed within 4 hours after sunrise the following day. And this ordinance was reinstated in January of 1999. This ordinance was in effect, you step in here, Kevin, and help me out, but it was affected, I mean, I had it in effect up until 2017. And then when Wayne came into mayor, for whatever reason, the town started clearing sidewalks. This is a significant expense when they come in with the sidewalk crews. And so I began to think about this, that we either enforce this ordinance or we rescind this and remove it from the ordinance. And I had a very long conversation with Ken Sayer. And he gave me a lot of background on this. And basically this is an ordinance that most, if not all, municipalities in West Virginia adhere to. And we don't. And he is recommending that we adhere to this ordinance because it removes totally the liability from the town. The liability is removed from the town and placed on the property owner. Every surrounding jurisdiction that I'm aware of has this ordinance, including Berkeley County. So I am recommending, and Ken is recommending, that we have a proclamation, and then we post the proclamation in the newsletter, and then we can also put a personal thing to all of the adjacent property owners on Washington Street that will be affected by this. So Ken thinks we should seriously look at putting this back on the books and enforcing it. He said in Berkeley, they give the property owner a warning, and then they take the necessary action following a warning, which are sanctions, monetary sanctions.
That's Kevin who'd be doing that, I guess.
Pardon me?
That would be Kevin Hamilton.
That's right.
Doing that.
That's correct.
The police do have the ability and authority to enforce it. You know, if Kevin is not here, whatever, the
Yeah.
police can do that.
The police, by the way, that's a good point, Jesse. Harpers Ferry Police Department under West Virginia Code have the authority to enforce any town ordinance. Now, that doesn't mean that they like enforcing certain ordinances, but they have that authority. And thanks, Jesse, for bringing that up. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, I have a little different take on this. Harpers Ferry is really not a normal town. We don't have sidewalks in all our streets like many towns throughout the state. We only have sidewalks on 2 streets. It's Potomac and, well, High and Washington Street, and I'll consider that one street. So that's our only real sidewalks in town. So I just think it's a burden to the residents on those 2 streets. No other residents in town will have to abide by this except those 2 streets. I feel that these particular streets are critical to the town. These are major thoroughfares for our residents and for visitors. I think they're as important as the streets. Also, I think that you're going to have the people on Washington Street, particularly High and mostly Washington, they put up with a lot of noise and traffic, and I really think they deserve a break. And this is going to be difficult to enforce, believe me. It will not get cleared on a lot of these streets, just from what I've observed in the past. There's a lot of snow. So I think this is the kind of money that comes from our visitors who support our budget, that would take care of this.
Okay. Thank you, Christian.
Okay.
Deb, how much are we paying to have the sidewalk? Yeah.
Well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Just depends on the storm. and it depends on, I mean, you do have the proposal with you, I mean,
Yes.
it's an hourly rate,
Yeah.
and,
I was more asking historically if there's a.
It
I could
varies.
tell you that with a little bit of time to study it, but I can't tell you off the top of my head, because it comes in we get invoiced by the storm,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
itemization, yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been a bunch.
But we also have a liability then, if we have it on our sidewalks, we have a liability on our streets as well. I would think.
Well,
We're not
Mhm.
clearing our
What's the,
streets.
right,
So the liability issue is if we remove this ordinance from the books. So I think there's two things that are being addressed here. One is the enforcing or not enforcing this ordinance. If we're not going to enforce it, then the mayor is recommending we remove it. But my concern and the lawyer's concern was that by having it on the books, if someone was hurt because of a sidewalk that was not cleared, the property owner would assume the liability for that and not the town, which, is a separate issue, but I think we're kind of melding them together for this discussion. And, that is a big deal. I figured leaving it in there. I have no opinion on enforcing it or not, but as far as leaving it in there, the liability side is significant. We could run into a real cost issue there if somebody was seriously injured.
well, all these sidewalks are on our property, right?
yeah,
They
but,
are.
well, it's public right of way.
Yeah.
But we own the sidewalks.
But
We own the
Yeah,
pavement, we own the right of way, is public. So we've made, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We've made transit through the public right of way easier with a sidewalk, but the right of way is still a public thing. It's a kind of a nebulous.
So if we leave this or not leave this on, we're not gonna clear the sidewalks anymore?
Correct. And I think that is problematic. I agree that Harper's Ferry is not any town. And we looked at this 2 years ago, and I looked at national trends has been away from requiring property owners because often it just doesn't get done,
Doesn't get done.
even with penalties. And part of it, it's hard to get a contractor to do anything here. You have a lot of folks who are older who aren't capable of doing their sidewalks. And you also have the sidewalks themselves, like Washington Street, the length of it, it's bricks that come up. So, if someone is out there shoveling, you're gonna be liable for the brick that you took up. And also that we do want it to be clear, Potomac Street too, that no, we don't see nearly as many folks in the snowier season as we do in other times. But, there will be times, absolutely, when those sidewalks will not be cleared because someone isn't around or isn't available or doesn't feel well that day. And then I think it prevents more of a hazard. I think it's serious, the liability issue that the town would take on for our town attorney. But I think in practical terms, then I just don't think we're going to get the result even if we are enforcing it.
Ken said that the genesis for this type of an ordinance throughout West Virginia was the fact that allegedly adjacent properties that are adjacent to sidewalks, the theory with the West Virginia legislature was that it increases the property value for the property owner of that sidewalk. And that was the genesis and I think it started well before 1999, because I noticed on our ordinance, it was reinstated in 1999. So it must have been in and then out, and then they put it back in 1999. Quite frankly, I can go either way. If we're not going to enforce this, take it off the books.
Right.
Take it out, rescind it. But
I think, but Jesse makes a point that by keeping on the books, the liability shifts to the homeowner.
I don't think it does, because we will not be, they will not be doing the activity, the contractor or the town.
Oh, you're saying
They're not
take
taking
it
it
off
off
the books
unless
and
the owner does.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If we leave it on the books, whether we enforce it or not is a separate question.
Yeah.
Than its presence in the books in general from a liability
I grew up in a town, New England, that it was the same thing. The main street had the sidewalks, and there were maybe a couple of neighborhoods here and there. Like the more, there weren't many adults. There weren't many actually, and we were responsible. Like I shoveled it, and I feel like since I shoveled it, everyone else should have to shovel it.
But that's sort of the problem. Only
No.
10% of the town live on that street.
But I mean, that was the deal. That was the deal by living, because you had the sidewalks, and it was kind of an amenity for us who lived on the main drag, because we could walk and go downtown and get to the stores, and we were there. Other people had to drive and do that. So that was the argument then. I don't know how and I don't remember people getting in trouble for not shoveling, because I think most people did shovel. But I do remember when the trees started ruining the sidewalks. I'd moved away at that point. People were suing homeowners when they were tripping on the sidewalk, and the homeowners were like, "Hey, I can't touch your tree," and it became a thing.
Yeah.
That became a difficult issue.
Well,
anyway,
when this was being enforced pre 2017, there was only, I've been sitting here thinking there was only one property owner that we had difficulty with, and that was a property owner that had a vacant habitable house that was not being habitated, and it sat vacant, and we had a difficult time getting that property owner to come out from Virginia and do it. And that's the only one that I recall with a problem.
Yeah, because only a person who lives within 4 hours, you have to get it off within 4 hours after the snow stops.
well, you hire someone. You're not gonna drive up.
Are you kidding? We can't even hire that. We can't get anybody to do.
Listen, I'm just telling you what our council,
Yeah.
okay? Now, I can go back to him, and a couple of you that have questions can be on the phone with me. That's fine. I don't care. If we don't want to resolve it tonight, I mean, we're not gonna get a blizzard next Thursday.
famous way.
Famous last words.
But do you need the snow thing approved? I mean, we could.
No, I talked to Patty about this, and she may be listening to this now and sitting in her chair shaking her head. But Patty and I were in agreement that we can, even if we approve this, we can just pull some of these areas out of there if that's the direction that we want to go.
Are we talking about both of these at the same time right now?
Kinda.
No, sort of, kind of.
Because that has problems.
Yeah.
That I'm going to bring up, but anyway.
Would there be anything to preclude the town from having this policy and also doing the sidewalks?
Well, that was my thought. Well, I mean, if we leave this in here strictly from a liability perspective,
I think we need to go to Ken on that. Okay, that specific twist. And I will gladly entertain any of you that want to sit in and.
I'll sit in. I'll tell you, the sidewalks aren't even that good that we have. I mean, they are trip hazards, and we're missing a lot of bricks. There's this by Zachary Taylor and Washington Street. You have decayed stairs down to the street. I mean, that's awful. That'd be treacherous in ice and snow.
And a direct consequence would be, let's say there's a snowfall in December during old time Christmas, and you have people that it's not just an amenity and a convenience for residents, that we do have people that park all the way up Washington Street. So,
Yeah. All right, so if you're okay with this, we can maybe get a motion to table this pending further guidance on specific questions from Ken Sayer.
I'll make a motion to table this discussion, pending future conversations with Ken Sayer.
Okay, is there a second on the motion? There's a second from David, discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? 0. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. And now we go to discussion action regarding snow and ice removal contract. I don't know, David, let me just, if you've got questions before we put any motions on the floor, go ahead and
Okay.
do some open discussion.
Yeah, it's kind of poorly put together, I'll be honest with you, the way they did the costs. If you look at just go straight to the costs, let's see. Let me see. So are we hiring them for just the additional services and that's all we're hiring them? Or are we, like, there's costs in here for like per bag of salt. And I don't know how big that bag of salt is, for instance.
Yeah, they're like 40 pounds.
I know, but that's gotta be in there. Like, I don't want them to bring a 5-pound bag of salt.
Well, we've seen them in the past, what they bring, but okay.
Yeah.
But that needs to be in there. And then I forget, there was another one about spreading salt, more like a ton of salt. Like, I don't know if that's, what is that? That's on the roads they're doing?
They do pre-treatment.
Pre-treatment,
Okay. And they're charging us per ton. So how are we tracking these things?
you can't,
You know,
they trust them.
David, this is the best we've gotten.
Then we got them.
Yeah, this is all that we get
Put them out.
year after year after year.
And they do ballers too.
And I gotta tell you, he goes out, starts in what, August or September and trying to get bids, and this is the only one that comes back.
Right.
So,
The only thing
I
I would,
get it. I get the concern.
Yeah.
I get it.
the one thing that's outrageously expensive is the dump trucks. They almost did that to us one year. They were loading up dump trucks, which is expensive. And then they would ship it off someplace and drop the snow someplace. Now, we do have paper streets and we should, and I think they know which ones, but they have to be, we push it off at the end of the paper street.
Yeah.
So it goes into the river. But we don't want to do dump trucks of snow.
And there was, I didn't see it in here, David. Maybe you came across it. I remember Storm, the last council, they wanted the environmental,
Premium.
Yeah, we always check the better stuff, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it turns out, we did discuss this in budget and finance, that has had a deteriorative effect on some of our sidewalks. So budget and finance, when we discussed it, would recommend that we not use that product, because of the harm that.
But it supposedly protects the plants
Well, yeah,
better.
it is not as harsh, of a salt, so that was the benefit to it.
Yeah, there is definitely environmental trade-off. The super salt is somewhat better for the environment, they say, but it also melts the sidewalk, for lack of a better term. And it was devastating. I don't know what brand they use, but I use the environmentally friendly salt on my staircase in my house, and they completely disintegrated, just like the steps did. Zachary Taylor and Washington Street. It's the very same thing. You know, well, I hate it for the plant. I really do. But from the town's perspective, the sidewalks are really expensive to replace. We can buy a lot of plants for that much money. So I don't realize great trade-off, but that's what we got.
Yeah, so just the rates are kind of fine. The very last page, or no, sorry, page 6, they list estimate description, and they have truck per hour, got it. Sidewalk labor shoveling per hour, got it. Then they have sidewalk chemical per bag. That should have a number. How big that bag is. The salt application per ton. Okay. I don't know how we're gonna track that. And then they have something called street sweeping, which is plowing, I guess. The plowing.
That's after the snowfall, if they come through to clear away debris that accumulates
Okay.
from the plowing.
In March or April, we have them come through
No,
One time.
after,
time.
after snow's over with.
and that covers how many streets? That covers all of Harper's Ferry.
Sometimes we have to call them in extra.
Yeah, we
because
do.
we've had
Call them back.
Calling back because we've had Potomac Street parking buried. I'm on the parking committee. Trust me, we don't want our parking buried, so they have to clear it all the way to the parked property.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the 3rd year that they've been the only folks that have even bid on
Okay.
this. We have a good working relationship with them. I know.
This sales thing is
I was
complicated.
gonna ask, like, when does the hour start due? When they leave the shop or when they get here?
Well, the thing is now, the first year it was difficult, and I remember the process of learning how to communicate with the dump trucks. And we've been able to develop a procedure that we can apply, that we've stepped on, we think, all of the landmines at this point. And the current budget does anticipate this structure and these costs.
Okay.
So, you know, the only thing that would be variable is it was an especially snowy year, and, you know, you get what you get. 2 years ago, we had almost none, and it was a windfall. So it's at least, you know, they're not the devil, but the devil, you know, as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
predictability, process, communication.
Yeah.
And the rates have remained the same, pretty much fairly consistent over all the years. It's not like they've, you know, just been like, we're the only game in town, so here you go.
And they do come. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
They do come.
Yeah.
Of course they count.
No, not gonna be so where they come even from. And they also park equipment back here. You know, that's the town hall here.
Yeah.
So it's sitting here.
All right, where do we want to go with this? Storm?
So I do have a motion. I move to assign the snow and ice removal contract for the 2025-26 season, Cornerstone Landscaping, to include sidewalk clearing of Washington High Street and Potomac Streets. Bids were solicited per the town's policy, but only one bid was received, and it was deemed to be reasonable. That is what Budget and Finance recommended, and Waterworks would be a second motion.
Okay.
Well, can we amend that, to say, based on the conversation the mayor is gonna have with Ken Sayer?
Oh, pending. Yeah, I would, or I can just alter that.
Yeah, I think maybe alter it would be better, because we don't really know how.
Yeah, but you can always, if you put it in already, you can always take it out. I mean, I don't think of it.
approve it with the snow. If we approve it with the sidewalk cleaning, can we take, I mean, we're in a contract then, right? I mean, can we?
No, I think we tell them.
It's like what we tell them we want.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's not like that formal.
Yeah, this is not a. All right, were you just practicing or did you?
No, that
Okay. Oh, that was a motion, okay. Is there a second? Second from Christian, further discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
By the way, the snow removal is like a waste of money. You're putting all this money in, it's only safety, but it's like throwing money out the window. I mean, you don't get any.
How if we have a big town snowball fight?
Yeah. I just wish we don't get snow. I used to love snow until I got on the town council.
All right, discussion action regarding municipal court compensation rates. This involves the municipal judge, Nancy Dalby, and the county prosecutor who prosecutes our cases, Stephen Grove. Storm?
Yep, so pay increases for these positions have not changed since 2008. And these are modest increases. I move to change the standard pay rate for the municipal judge to $500 per month and to $300 per month for the municipal prosecutor, starting immediately and retroactive to cover all services already provided in fiscal year 26.
There's a second on the motion? Second, Christian?
Yep.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Number 15, upgrade regarding municipal insurance.
Yeah, so this is the general insurance that the town carries, so not like not workers' comp and all that, our general insurance. So our broker is Assured Partners, and the insurance company is West Virginia Corp. And they conducted a property assessment, which hadn't been done in a while, with pretty much everything except for the water tanks for some reason. And the values went up substantially, mostly the waterworks, because of the upgrades that were made. So they are going to hold the rates for this fiscal year, but they are going to be going up in the following fiscal year substantially. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up about that is coming down the pike.
What's our fiscal year or the?
Our fiscal year.
It
What's the
renews
percentage?
fiscal year.
Our fiscal, all right.
get a sense of the
Just want to
percentage.
make sure what was January.
More than twice
For waterworks.
for waterworks.
Yeah, because that's a new plant.
But yeah, the good news is we have some time to prepare for that.
All right, 16, discussion action regarding state auditor training.
Yes, so usually, these are training sessions that the state auditor's office holds in order to help, say, our finance officer, town council members to understand the process and their evolutions in state finances. Used to be they would have them in Martinsburg.
Yeah.
And across the state, they have cut back drastically. Now they're only holding them in Charleston and Bridgeport. So that will necessitate, but in finance, felt like it's definitely important and valuable for our finance officer to attend these in person. It's an opportunity to talk with people in the auditor's office and ask questions that maybe wouldn't come up ordinarily. It's helped us out in countless ways over the past few years. So we would need some additional funding in order to have our finance officer attend. So I moved to assign up to $600 from $440 City Hall to send the finance officer to annual state auditor office training.
Is there a second? Second, Christian, discussion.
I have a question. I've been to the training myself. Shouldn't somebody from the council go as well?
It can.
It's an
yeah.
option.
I mean, it's really good meetings. I've been to one.
Yeah, no, it
I'm not
definitely gives you a good
volunteering,
time.
by the way. I'm just.
They, are they gonna get to Martinsburg again? Like, are they just rotating through the state?
No.
This is, due to the new administration we have in West Virginia, this change, and so they do not know. They have one in the fall, they have one in the winter, and I usually go to both of them, and they couldn't tell me what would happen after the first year. I have a feeling it's gonna stay like this.
Yeah, I would imagine so too, because like the elections training they used to do
Yeah.
in like 2 places in the state, and one would be somewhere in the northern part of the state. Now it's only in Charleston.
Yeah. And the West Virginia Ethics Commission, they used to go all over the state, David, and provide training for ethics for new council.
Yeah.
They don't do it. They don't do it. So it's just a sign of the fiscal times, I guess. So we have a motion on the floor for 600 or 1,600. 600. And we have a second from Christian, don't we?
Yeah.
We do. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Okay, this is discussion only regarding Landmark's request for funds to hire an editor.
Yeah, so we got a request, but it didn't have much detail about wanting to hire an editor to finish off for ease of reading Appendix A, which is a very important document for the town.
You're late.
But we are going back to get more details about it. Just it's unusual. And that's, I think, something that town council can discuss. Christian?
Well, go ahead. I had something to add, seeing that I've been on that commission before.
That's really the short version.
Okay.
So Budget and Finance at this time is not recommending an action, but to get more information about the specs of what they are looking to do, who they are hiring to do this, what they expect it to cost, and why this project would require an editor.
So you're going back to
Yes.
that, okay.
I have some background I just wanted to add. First, I know an editor. And an editor is supposed to have a material almost done. So I mean, this Appendix A needs to be looked at by us before an editor sees it. Because when we see it, we can make adjustments and such, and then it should be edited, but you should not be editing a really rough draft.
Yeah, at this point, it's not clear in what stage it is. It was kind of a loose request.
Yeah, if it's going back and forth, that's going to be costly.
Yeah.
You want to have one-time edit coming through, and that means we should see Appendix A before they get an editor.
Yeah, let's see what
Yeah.
budget can come up with, Christian. What else
Sure.
did you have?
On that?
Oh, Christian, if he had another comment.
The Appendix A is very late. It does need to get approved soon. because most of the permits that we see up here, they come in the spring. And if we could get something approved, an updated Appendix A and have that ready for the springtime, and I'm talking like in January, February, it should be approved.
Okay,
Should be, that's them just giving you my opinion.
that's fine.
If you wait until middle of the summer, like many months from now, maybe you can talk to them and find out when their timeline is.
Yeah, let's see what they can come up with, they being in budget and finance with the additional information. Storm is hastily typing with one arm, everything that you said, Christian, so
Sure, I'm sure.
that'll be handed off.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, open discussion on that? Okay. Number 18, discussion and action regarding sourcing a bid for annual town audit.
Yes, the state auditor's office every year requires that we have an audit conducted, and there is an on-the-rails process for doing that, including a prescribed form. And this, for the past fiscal year, it's going to need to be what's called a single audit. If you take more than $750,000 of funding from the federal government, it's a little more involved. But for right now, this is just to get it out there to advertise for the services, and then we'll get bids from auditors, and then we'll put them through our regular process and select one, and off we go. So I moved to advertise the RFP for audit services for fiscal year 25 for an announcement on October 14th with bid opening on November 18th.
So it'll be
Bid opening
tomorrow,
on-
Bid opening the 18th.
but it's going out tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that was
No,
from,
you have it right.
Yeah,
You have it right.
it's
The
ready
bid,
to go.
and that advertisement will begin tomorrow, and the opening will be November 18 by Budget and Finance.
Got it.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Is there a second
I'll
on that
second
motion?
that.
Second, Christian, discussion? All in favor of that motion? None opposed? Motion
All right,
6-0.
What's our chances of getting an auditor?
pretty good.
Good? All right, good.
We actually had quite a few the last time. A little drama too, but we won't get into that.
Number 19, update on opioid settlement expenditures.
So I'm gonna swing this over to Jesse to cover, but there is some progress.
So, Mikhail and I have been working on a benefits list, which is, essentially just goes through the entire agreement from the governor's office on the allowable expenditures for the opioid funds. And we're putting together a chart on who benefits from each one of those. And that chart will be used in the future for the further disbursements of opioid funds. It'll be just a reference we can all go to, and we don't have to go through all this document again. Right now, informal opinions are leaning towards using this current disbursement for a secure drug disposal box and disposal service. So kind of a community service thing. People can put their legal and illicit materials in the box, no questions asked, and it's spirited away by a still yet undefined party. Mikhail's looking into who does that, because there is whether it needs to be the police or like a secure laboratory service, how that is all managed is still unknown. But
I think Ranson has that, and I believe it's located in the lobby of the police station.
I don't know how
So
many
that
people.
may be a little bit of an intimidation factor,
Yeah.
bringing in your extra shooting material.
Yeah.
And, we
You know,
should take a look at that.
yeah. There's also there is that certainly, but the tie-in there were prescription pharmaceuticals, like my wife's cancer drugs. We can't dispose of those anywhere. Nobody will take them, and that's a pretty widespread problem in general.
Yeah.
And it may not be exactly opioids. You can put them in there, but as a community service offering, it's a pretty cool thing.
I think people, if we promote this, there'll be people, just normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking too about parents who are going through sock drawers and find surprises. What you do with that kind of stuff,
Experiment.
Yeah, it's a great,
See the posters now.
yeah,
All right.
I don't know how to come back on that one.
Is it like a post box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a metal sharps disposal bin, so kind of like that.
Okay, waiting for Storm, 'cause I think, okay, discussion and action regarding town logo, colors and website project.
Oh, looky here. So,
You just walked in.
yeah, so I sent around to everybody what came back to us from the designer, which is for our request, which was to simplify what was a very, very nice, but very detailed logo. And we went over this in IOC, and there was a recommendation there had been a little pier in the Shenandoah River. And I took that out so that you can see how it would look. If we do approve this version, I would go back to them, ask them to formally remove it, and they would deliver to us a vector file that we would be able to send out into any format we care. Also, there have been some requests for specific formats, as well as the technical specifications for the colors, which would then be able to use in all of our documents, including the comprehensive plan, which is coming up. Now, I will note, I said this in the email, that what they delivered to us is the full color version. The other versions that you saw, I did in Photoshop, just to give an example of how they will look in black and white. I think it's brilliant. I think they did a nice job of reducing it in a way that it will look good in a small scale. You can blow it up. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful, and there's a nice representation of the town. So I move that the town adopt the simplified version of the logo submitted by Wicked Design as the official town logo for all purposes, along with the colors, after the Shenandoah River abutment is removed.
I'll second it.
Who's second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. You don't need discussion. That's what you're talking about right there.
Yes.
That's
So that,
everybody know what,
We
that
took
was,
it,
this
we
was the detailed version,
took it
the
out.
original. So
and then we go to,
it's simplified full color is what they submitted.
okay, this is what we're approving.
right.
Correct.
Okay.
It has to play with that, what Storm sent around and scaled it, and it does scale down nicely. You know, you can stick it in the corner of things, and it still looks proper.
That's
That's
great.
how it's long.
That's great. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of that motion? Opposed, zero, motion 6-0. Good job, Storm, thanks.
How many years is this?
200, about
Just
200.
2 or 3 years. See,
No, 2 years,
Yeah,
maybe.
two.
Yeah, about that.
It's not easy to design things by committee.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
In this case, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discussion and action regarding general fund 2026 revision number 3.
All right, this budget revision includes an increase in revenue of $14,000, which includes actual receipts of $5,000 in building permits and anticipated revenue from the federal grant for the city tree grant in the amount of $9,000. Expense revisions include items approved provisionally in this meeting already, $100 in 440 City Hall for state auditor training. There's already 500 there. 2,500 increase for prosecutor and magistrate fees. That is the effect annually on what you approve. And 12,500 increase in 750 tree commission to provide our match and provide payment of the 9,000 that will be reimbursed by the grant. Expenses therefore totaling 15,100. So contingency has been increased by 1,100 to or decreased by 1,100 to offset the difference between the revenue and the expenses.
And I'll add to that, we discussed in budget and finance, one of the options would have been to increase projected revenue, but we felt at this point would rather not do that, but we still do expect that that will be possible later in the year. I move to approve general fund revision 3 as submitted.
Kevin has the resolution, which should be read.
Let's do that first.
Still the plug for like my computer just.
Oh, you just need the power plug?
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I didn't.
It's
Okay, the resolution is at a regular session of the municipal council held October 13, 2025, the following order was made and entered. The revision of the levy estimate budget of the town of Harpers Ferry, the following resolution was offered. that subject to approval of the state auditor as ex officio chief inspector of public offices, the municipal council does hereby direct the budget be revised prior to the expenditure or obligation of funds for which no appropriation or insufficient appropriation currently exists, as shown on budget revision number 3, a copy of which is entered as part of this record.
I move to approve general fund revision 3 as submitted.
Is there a second? Second from David. Discussion. All those in favor?
This is a roll call vote.
Is it?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Kevin.
Storm DeCostanzo,
Yes.
Jesse Milton,
Yes.
David Simmons,
Yes.
Christian Petroconis.
Yes.
And I vote yes, Mayor.
Yes. All right, Storm, you're off the hook, buddy. Okay, ORC, Ordinance
Okay.
Review Committee Report. That's 5C1. Kevin?
Yes, so the Ordinance Review Committee met on the 26th of September with a pretty full agenda of items referred to it by the town council last month.
It was long.
It was a long meeting. 3 of these are presented for first reading for approval on tonight's agenda, so I will cover those when we get to them on the agenda.
All right.
In addition to those 3 items, we discussed ordinance amendments to amend and harmonize the nomination and approval process for appointments to commissions, committees, and boards, potentially including seat expiration dates. Chris Craig agreed to revise a chart of these town bodies, which was developed by the previous chair of the ORC. Due to the complex scope of this subject, we determined we will need to consult West Virginia code regarding the requirements for each of these bodies and most likely seek advice from the town attorney as well. Next, we discussed signs and historic markers on private property. Christian Petroconis agreed to draft a preliminary ordinance for further review at the next ORC meeting, possibly including ideas from other historic towns in the region. And finally, we discussed adding a 3rd zoning category to Part 13 of the codified ordinances. Several questions arose for which the ORC will need clarification. Mr. Craig agreed to discuss this item further with the President of the Planning Commission. Because of the workload, we did not discuss removing the requirement for physically signed hard copies of meeting minutes, which we will take up at our next meeting.
All right. Discussion action regarding approval of second and final reading of ordinance 2025-02 garage sales.
Yeah, give me just a second. Sorry.
You want a hard copy, Kev?
I've got it right here in front of me. I just have to scroll down to the page I need to be on. Okay. So the first item we have is ordinance number 2025-02, an ordinance to amend Article 735 of the codified ordinances of Harpers Ferry, adding definitions for certain types of sales and adding a new section regarding such sales. So we approved first reading of this ordinance last month, and tonight will be second and final reading.
Okay.
You need a motion to approve?
Yes.
I move we approve the ordinance presented.
Is there a second? Second, Christian. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
All right.
Next one is ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance to amend uniform language for removal of members of commissions, committees, and boards. So this has been sent to the attorney. I consulted with the mayor first, and then it was sent to the attorney for his review, and he signed off on it, basically.
Good.
And the list of more specific conditions, was that drawn from other ordinances?
I'm not sure because that was given to me when I was when I became recorder again, I assume.
There was a
came-
lot of stuff before we got there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was prior council.
Okay.
So we need a motion for approval of that ordinance.
So you don't know the history of.
That's first reading, right, Kevin?
Yes, first reading for approval.
First. Go ahead, David.
So you don't know what necessitated this change? You know how the
We
history
would
of
need
that?
to go into executive session.
And I'm looking at you, nodding, you're like you don't want to go in executive
I
session.
know, I'm happy to. I talk about it all day long.
You can't talk in generalities. And just give me a ballpark feel for why
Why all the reds?
we're putting this in here. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the heat on that one. At a previous meeting, I felt that, that we needed specificity in the current ordinance regarding moving members, that there was no specificity in there.
Mhm.
I brought this to a previous council, and the feeling was that it did not need specificity, despite other recommendations being made. And then with the seating of this administration, we're taking a run at it again. And that's where we are with the specificity. And it was completely felt that it was necessary in the past, and I'm glad that we're taking a look at it, because we did, there was a few issues that came up previously in the Corporation of Harpers Ferry regarding removing members, and this just makes it a lot more, gives us a lot better opportunity to remove members with cause. Wouldn't like to get into any more specificity than that.
I'd just like to add, I barely remember this, but back in, I guess it was 2011 that this ordinance was originally passed, or 2013. At the time that this was proposed, a draft ordinance was put forth that was much more elaborate and detailed than what we have now. But I think, and I found it in my records when I was formatting this ordinance. But I think that what we have before us is more succinct and covers everything it needs to cover.
Well, I'll say this, that in a hypothetical case where it was felt like someone was in the public trust, the bar was too high, the way this is written, and it can be challenged too easily. And I agree, I feel like what's in here is not so broad that it would lead to booting people off of committees, commissions, town council without cause. Now, this would apply to town council. That's a different thing, I think, when you're an elected official. But that, yes, it would enable a bad actor to be removed from a committee or commission.
Right, because those members really serve at the pleasure of the council. So.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of the first reading? Is it
Did-
first reading, Kevin?
I don't think a motion was made.
Oh, I moved for. Oh, I first thought we reading. did.
Okay. I don't think
He
we did.
did so many of them, I just thought he did.
All right. So we have Storm making the motion to approve, and we have David seconding the motion. And then we have extensive discussion, and I'll open the floor for any other discussion. Discussion is closed. All those in favor of the motion? And then maybe
Opposed.
zero.
Okay, next item is ordinance 2025-04, and this is a long title. An ordinance to amend and reenact Article 1711 of the Codified Ordinances of Harpers Ferry, establishing the floodplain area. requiring all contractors, persons, partnerships, businesses, and corporations to obtain a permit for development and the construction, substantial improvement, or relocation of any building or structure, providing for certain minimum standards for construction within the floodplain area, setting forth special procedures for submission and approval of plans, and establishing penalties for any person who fails to comply with the requirements or provisions of this ordinance.
Council,
Make a motion to approve the draft floodplain ordinance as
is there a second on the motion to approve? Second from Christian. Discussion. David,
I've got a few things, if you don't mind, Kevin.
go ahead, David.
So there's the floodplain administrator, and that's gonna be the head of the planning commission
Or their
Yeah.
or
designee.
their designee.
So right now, it's the mayor and the head of planning by the ordinance.
There's two floodplain.
There's a,
Okay.
there's a
Okay.
co-chair kind of thing,
Okay.
fallback.
Okay. All right, and then there's some dollar values in here that I was wondering where they came from, like.
They
So,
were there before, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, we
They
didn't
were.
choose what we was there before.
so it was 10, but it went from 10,000 to 7,000 for the. For the,
You're on page 21.
change.
what
was it?
line number is that?
Line 1164,
164.
yeah.
Yeah, it should be on page 21, Kevin.
Sorry?
Should be page 21.
It was like structures maybe no more than, it was 600, now it's 300 square feet, and then
164.
valued it.
And the square footage changed as well.
Yeah,
This came to us from planning commission, so maybe Jesse can answer
So,
this.
Do not know where the, there is a location change using the FEMA template, but I don't know where the financial changes, where those numbers came from.
or that square footage number.
We didn't
so
change any numbers. that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
I'd kind of like to know
So
where the
it's,
origin of that.
yeah, so it's everything that is in that is based on it's a combination of the existing ordinance and the new FEMA,
Guideline.
yeah, they don't like to say the word template, but it's a template.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Model order.
Model ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay, line, I think it's 1231 or 1232, so is Harpers Ferry National Historic Park subject to this ordinance?
Not
Does they have
exactly.
a floodplain?
They have most of the floodplain properties and they are self-insured. So they'll be notified of the change, but they're self-insured, so they don't have to pay, the FEMA flood insurance premiums and all that stuff.
Okay. But there's restrictions on like using fill in these areas and stuff, and raising floodplain and all that. Are they subject to this, or do we know?
Yeah, so they are subject to the building rules and requirements. But they can also, it's all internal and they have a mechanism to bypass this stuff if they need to do something inside the.
Because they're national. Okay.
Yeah, because they're assuming all the risk for those changes and not the taxpayer or the ratepayer.
Okay. And has our town engineer looked at this? Whoever we have for
What's the question, David?
the town engineer. Have
They looked at
this?
the original ordinance.
The original
I do not think that they've looked at the model
changes. Okay.
changes.
It's my understanding that after first reading, this has to go back to
It
FEMA.
does go to FEMA.
review.
Okay. It does. Okay. And I just noted that we are the appeals board. That goes to council. So. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Jesse, I note there's an incredible amount of track changes in here. Who did all this work?
I did. Well, so I did the version you have in front of you, the formatting and everything. But we received it from the previous ORC.
Right.
Which which was,
But it was a mess.
I mean,
It
look at
wasn't
this.
formatted
that's
well and
all-
everything, so I had to go
That's
through
an
the
incredible
entire
amount of work.
Yep. So, Roberta did a tremendous amount
She did. She did.
on this. Roberta B. Curry. She really dove in, on the planning
Right.
side of, because she was planning and she was ORC under the previous.
Well, accolades to whoever, I mean, this is,
She really did. She put in a lot of work stuff. You know,
I,
And we spent a lot of time on it.
yeah, and then, who's touched it has put in a whole lot of work.
yeah.
In making it go. This was the easy way. They said that we had the option to just do the whole thing ourselves without using the model ordinance, which, that's just madness.
Yeah. More than madness. I think we have that, we're in discussion, right? We had a motion, okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0, opposed, 6-0, Kevin.
Okay, so the last item we have is ordinance number 2025-05. This is an ordinance permitting the Harpers Ferry Planning Commission to collaborate with the Bolivar Planning Commission on matters crossing jurisdictional boundaries.
What's the genesis of this?
Came
Jesse, go ahead.
So this came out of, a previous proposed construction project at the corner of Fillmore and Boundary. And, that was going to have direct impacts on our neighbors in Bolivar. And they would have liked to have been informed of the potential project which
Oh,
would
yeah.
happen, due to, the runoff, the stormwater runoff from that hillside going into, the Bolivar residents' homes. And so my thought was to introduce more of a treaty essentially that requires us to contact our neighbors in Bolivar if we're doing something that could potentially impact someone in Bolivar. The ordinance has them being a participant, a non-voting participant, and we will record their statements, the Bolivar representative statements as a matter of record.
Do they have a reciprocal?
No, not yet.
Or
No,
not?
this is a,
An alternate?
yeah.
But will they? Do they plan on?
I don't know. I have not, discussed that with them at all. I wanted to get this.
Yeah.
Some of the, all our friends to handle.
Yeah.
It was, they're not gaining power by doing this. It's a respect and friendship, courtesy kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
All right, who's got the motion?
I will,
Go ahead.
make a motion that we approve the 2025, the trans-jurisdictional collaboration order.
For first reading.
2025-05.
Second.
For first reading.
For
Second
first reading, yeah.
for, and Storm, we got a second. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion 6-0, Kev.
Okay.
Okay, Plan Commission, are you gonna give the report, Jesse?
Sure. The last month, the bulk of the meeting was about the EPMO grant dealing with the high street improvements downtown. And giving the mayor permission to enter into that. I don't know if it's permission or something. Anyway, so the mayor the HEPMO issue to planning because planning had concerns about the previous project. We reviewed the new project in light of the 100% funding by the federal government, and we reassessed our position on that, and then signed off on the HEPMO grant. The planning has no concerns on the HEPMO grant. We approved a driveway on 1000 West Ridge Street, a driveway connection, and then on the driveway connection actually connects to Franklin Street property, 1000 Ridge. And then we discussed the ongoing development on Putnam Street, where they have filed for a driveway connection permit, and then Kevin has brought some issues about potential runoff and stormwater management from there. Those were all resolved with no issues. And then we have a meeting end of this month, I believe, with Christie from the WV Lands Office. And we're going to be, putting the final touches on the comprehensive plan.
Great, great. Discussion action regarding approval of curb ramps on Potomac Street. This was put on by Kevin, I believe, and, Jesse, you've briefed me on this, and I think that you carry the information for the planning on this. Why don't you introduce the topic to those that may not know about this?
So a resident owns some empty lots on Potomac Street and has been using them as parking. The resident brought forth the idea of installing rubber curb ramps, which are a standardized piece of infrastructure that attach to the street in the gutter there between the curb and the road, and they allow vehicles to jump over, go over a curb smoothly without introducing lateral stress on the curb. The planning did vote to approve it after quite a bit of discussion, and based on the fact that it is a standardized piece of infrastructure, there were 40 something instances I found of them being used in DC. They are a normal thing. There is some concern about the vehicles crossing the sidewalk. Not concern for planning, but in general comments. The sidewalk is not really an issue. The sidewalk is more than capable of supporting the vehicle load. It's the curb that could be damaged by a vehicle approaching it, at a right angle and just crashing into it and jumping over it. The curbs eliminate that. There's a business perspective of this as well, and there's 12 parking spaces there. 5 of them are currently leased long term to local business owners. And having enough economic activity where local businesses can serve other local businesses is a pretty good problem to have. That's I hesitate to get in the way of that. We do have the capacity to introduce caveats into any permits that we write. So we could put in there if damage occurs, there would be a stop and desist caveat in there where damage to the town assets does occur. The current use has to stop, and then we could also require them in the event of damage to, if they wanted to keep using the parking areas, they would have to, have a regular driveway, a slope, ramp, sidewalk, road connection. My position on it is, since we do have the authority to put, conditional requirements onto a permit, that we should do that. And the property owner is certainly not opposed to that, but the curb ramps are a really good way to move into this. And if they work and they're satisfactory and everything's like we think it will be, like planning thinks it will be, there's no reason not to do it. In my view, I've kind of mixed. I've mixed my own views and planning views. And their planning did approve it. It was not unanimous. I did vote in favor of the project in planning simply because it's an incremental thing. If it doesn't work, we can, there's an avenue to move forward.
And so the curbs. Sorry, you had your hand raised.
Well, I had a couple things. One is I've noticed vehicles, I've been down and looked at that spot. First of all, the signage on there is a little difficult to read. I don't think there have been approved signs. So I think if you do something with the permit, we need to have some better signs down there, or at least signs that are more permanent.
I do know the property owner is planning to have metal
The
signs.
second thing is the vehicles. I've seen some big trucks hanging over literally in the street, and there should be either some sort of a limit on the size of the vehicles, or at least dig that hillside out.
Yeah, well, the property owner is okay with putting that on the signs. If you block the sidewalk, you can't block the sidewalk. And people, he has no problem with the signs. Depending if we move forward with this, he's fine with putting on the signs that that you can't block the sidewalk and you're at risk of being towed and or fined if you do block the sidewalk. Probably that's just where that's at. So.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, if you turn over turn to page 2 on Article 909 that I gave you and go down to 90903. And Jesse and I had talked about this. And this is where Jesse, I guess, in the planning commission found the authorities, I guess, or the, located in what, the fourth line down or third line down. I mean, we could vaguely interpret 909.03 as given authorization to do this, although it doesn't specifically say jumping curbs, et cetera. In retrospect, and maybe the property owner too feels this way, I just think that possibly maybe a better business plan may have been done to begin with and get all this handled to begin with without getting it to this point. And it may not have ever gotten to this point. But when they started that whole fiasco down there, with jumping the curbs, and I know that the property owner is very concerned about that. I get it. I understand that. And I also know that some of the people that are parking there, when any part of the vehicle is over the sidewalk, they're getting citations.
Good.
And I think that the property owner is aware of that. I mean, and this goes all the way down Potomac Street where they're issuing citations at Rich Schaefer's, at Anwar, at Cannonball. If there any type, where they block the sidewalk, they're going to get citations. And we've had people come into court saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm paying to park there, but then I get a citation." And so, somebody said something about maybe digging it out a little bit further.
Yeah,
so maybe the property owner can go back a little bit further,
A few feet.
and so we don't get this burden on somebody legitimately paying the property owner to park there, and then on top of that, they get a coupon from the town. So,
Well, certainly for a sign to be put up by the property owner, they can clear that
yeah.
cannot be. You'll be ticketed if you are
And I
on the
would,
sidewalk.
And so Jesse, if you would you go over the conditional, or I don't know if it was a conditional stipulation or
Yeah.
something on there? What was that? Would you run that by us
so
again?
if we approve this, with conditional restrictions, it would be that it was a conditional cease and desist if town assets were being damaged after the installation of these curb ramps, then the use as for parking would no longer be permitted until they corrected the curb situation, which would require the whole sweeping thing. And also we could stipulate or not, but the property owner is fine with signs about blocking the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And I do think it's worth pointing out that, this is an act of, in good faith on the property owner's part. Typically the planning commission handles all this internally, and there's this, even though it says "and by the town council," planning commission and town council, it is at town council, and by policy or precedent, policy by precedent, it doesn't really have to be. But he wants to do it right.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That would have been a way to winnow this agenda down.
I was going to say too, on the curbs, there's two things I'm thinking about. One is water runoff. Does that impede water going down the street? And then the second being is if snowplows come down the street and they rip up everything.
I had answers for those.
Okay.
All right. So yes, they do allow water taps. Like I said, these are standardized part of infrastructure, and they are relieved on that to allow for water taps. They are also designed the studs that hold them to the pavement. They're designed to lift off of there when hit by the snowplow. And these are private property, so the property owner is responsible for replacing them himself. That's not a town.
So studs will go into.
Yep, there'll be there are number 8 holes, small number 8 holes, and the manufacturer says that, you know, if you remove those, the recommended, fill for that is just the appropriate colored call.
Okay.
They're fairly minor hold.
Do you have a clever motion to put together?
Um, I move that town council move to approve that in there. Oh, it's not as clever as I thought. I'm on the spot now.
Nobody's looking at you.
I'm too busy talking.
Well, I don't know. I don't hear anything. Forward. Just remember. What's not? Yeah, let's take it out.
Me. Everybody's waiting on me. So we would,
To give it a dry run first.
okay, so it's approved the installation of rubber curb ramps as presented to planning under ZCPA 2025-001 with the caveat of a cease and desist order triggered by damage to town assets be included in the permit. Additionally, the property owner will install signs warning not to block the sidewalk and warning of the issuance of fees and towing if parked vehicles block the sidewalk.
Okay, council, any questions on that?
Yeah, I think, and also a sign permit must be given for each sign. I mean, every time I get a sign out front of my place, I have to get a sign permit. So they have to pay for that. I mean, I guess you don't need it in there, but the thing is, we have to make sure that that's collected.
Yeah, we don't need it in there, but he does need to.
If I'm paying it, somebody else is gonna pay for it.
Well, that it has to be that way. Everybody has to.
That's right.
Even for everybody.
That's right.
So I want curb ramps too.
All right, you ready to go live?
Yes, sir. Move that town council approve the installation of rubber curb ramps as presented to the planning commission under ZCPA 2025-001 with the caveat of a cease and desist order triggered by the damage of town assets be included in the permit. Additionally, the property owner will install signs warning not to block the sidewalk and warning of the issuance of fees and towing if parked vehicles do block the sidewalk.
Second on the motion, second from who? Who was that? Storm. For the discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Good job, Jesse.
Thank you.
Parks and Rec, anybody? Okay.
Was asked to read this. The Harpers Ferry Parks and Rec would like to remind everyone of the following upcoming activities. This Saturday, October 18th, Art in the Park from 1 to 5 p.m. The event is being held at the Children's Park on Washington Street. Friday, October 31st, Trick or Treat at the Gazebo, 575 Washington Street, 6 to 8 p.m. Note that this event does not take place, should have said, take the place of trick or treating door to door. If residents would like to participate by handing out treats, please leave your porch light on. Saturday, November 8th, the Great Harpers Ferry Pumpkin Roll Contest on Columbia Street. Registration desk will be on Park Row. Entrance fee is $10 for adults, $5 for youth. Event time 2 to 4 p.m.-ish. Bring your own pumpkin. A few will be on hand. Prizes for first, second, and third place youth and adult will be awarded. Prizes have been donated by local merchants. Finally, Parks and Rec is accepting closed bids for the purchase of the iron fencing that was removed during the Children's Park Revitalization Project. Minimum starting bid is $500. Bids must include your name, contact information, and your bid in a sealed envelope and drop it off at the town hall on or before the 1st of November. Proceeds of the sale will go toward the restoration of the fountain located in Union Square Park, located on the corner of Franklin and Washington Streets. The fence can be viewed prior to making an offer by contacting Pat Morse at Town Hall at 304-535-2206, extension 4.
Thank you, Kevin. IOC, David.
We've had one meeting since our last town council meeting. We discussed personnel issues that I can't discuss openly, making progress on getting a better documentation process, I believe. And then we discussed the logo that Storm presented earlier.
Yeah, David, I want to thank you and your committee for tackling some very, very difficult issues, and they're not fun, and I get it, and we all get it, and you have been, all of the three of you, incredibly professional, and all the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted. And I really appreciate that very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Water Commission, PWA. Did we get?
Okay. All right. I don't know if this is gonna stay. How's that? All right. So I don't have a whole lot. We've just completed a copper lead sampling. This is at this point, we're on an annual schedule for that. It's a very involved process that we are still learning how to do correctly. We have gotten results back from our 20 sample points. Those are customers. We will be distributing those to complete the process. We have to distribute those to the customers and then notify the state that we have distributed them to them within the right period of time. We did have one location that came back, I'm going to say hot. It was the lead. The lead was above what, the actionable limit. But actionable for the town would be if we actually had, they actually look at if we take the 20th, we have to rank them. We go low to high, and if we get down to the 18th worst, and that's above the limits, then we have a problem. This one was the 20th worst, so system-wise, we don't have a problem. We just have to notify those folks that their value was high. A little bit of a problem with that was we missed the deadline for sampling. So the deadline for sampling was September the 30th. We sampled on October the 2nd and the 3rd because of difficulties with getting our plan approved through the state. Some of that was our fault, some of that was the state's fault. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but the next deadline was to get the samples all tested and back to the state by the 10th. That was last Friday, and we did achieve that goal. So we're hoping that, we've at least made that effort and shown that effort. Hydrants, that's, we've got, a focus on that here rest of this month. We need to flush a good number of those and test them for pressure. This is long overdue. The state has new legislation that requires us to get that done, and we are, I guess, we're in process of getting that going now. We're also looking at the meter pit prep. You guys have approved, kind of cutting Green Ridge loose and getting ready, getting that in shape for the meter swap out. And as was also discussed, the department will be coordinating with the maintenance personnel to work on some of the Band-Aid patching with pavement. Some of this will be for water department cuts across the street when we had to install a new line, and some of it will be town of Harpers Ferry potholes that have nothing to do with paving. We're going to work in concert with the maintenance department on this. In terms of our unaccounted for water, to be quite honest with you, I'm rather puzzled. My numbers as calculated was back up to 50%, 50. We made less water. We filtered less water last month than we had in the previous 2 months. Okay, so it's not on the filtering side. The amount of water that we billed for was low. And I think last month I told you, one of the things, our billings were high, and that always helps reduce our lost water. So I'm still looking at all of this. I have gone back to looking at that period between midnight and 3 in the morning, to see how much, the rate of loss we're getting out of the tanks when everything really kind of should be quiet in terms of people's consumption. And that is still significantly lower than it was before we did the project, but it has crept up a little bit. It has crept up about 4%. That rate has crept up about 4% higher than it was the previous month. I know of one leak with the new project that I've got a call out to GD&F, the engineering firm, to figure out on the warranty side how we're going to get that fixed. That's over in the Columbia Street area in the county, on the other side of the cemetery there. And that could be a significant contributor to this. One service line leak, if it's really opened up, can actually affect us pretty badly. So we're going to be looking at that. On the billing side, actually, I have a request from the PSD to be scrutinizing and if necessary, replacing some of our zero read meters and our very low use meters. So I'm still looking at those and trying to figure out, what's going on with our billings this last month. As I was reading meters, we get an indication as we're reading the meters whether or not it's more than one standard deviation below average for that particular meter, for that particular household. And I was noticing a fair number that were reading low. I just don't have a good explanation for that, but we are going back and we are physically checking, meters that were low reads. Our billings were about 63% of the August billings and about 78% of the July billings.
David?
So,
Yeah, just give more color to that, the PSD, because we had a meeting last week about this. So, like, the Country Cafe showed 0. Sorry. One that and there were new houses that we know people lived in that were like 19 gallons kind of thing. So, yeah, I wonder if there's like a process even. That's where a lot of the losses, like a QA process, like you're doing that one standard deviation. Is that how quickly does that happen, or how quickly can you look at these numbers and say, go back out and read again or something?
Yeah. Well, so when we read, while we're reading, we put the number in to our tool.
Yeah.
Okay. And it will pop up. It pops up right then and there. It gives it either a green a yellow or a red. Yellow being outside of one standard deviation, red being outside of two standard deviations, either high or low.
Yeah.
And then we have an orange, which is either a 0 or a negative. Okay, and both zeros and negatives, so like what's going on here. And then our procedure is to take a photo while we're at the pit, to take a photograph of the meter if it's either orange or red. And that way the photos come back to the clerk, and we don't necessarily have to send somebody out to just make sure the reading was right.
Yeah, it should look at the
The next step is to say, okay, with all of those, what are we doing to go back and say, well, what are we doing about it? If something's a 0 and it has been a 0 and we have no good reason to understand why it's 0. And that's a follow-up piece that we're trying to follow up on those. The information in terms of standard deviations, we get that, like I said, we get that in the pit. Okay, it gives us an idea of take a better look, because just to make sure we haven't punched in right. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Right. And of course, it'll be some number of months before it happens, but this is one of the things that will be solved with the new meters as far as getting.
But with the meters this past month, I'm working on a response back to the PSD that would be at least the meters that are out of the norm, let's say out of the norm from what we've seen, and giving an explanation of going back to the pits. I've been basically cracking the meter, the line in the pit, to make sure that the meter does spin, make sure it's not not truly a broken meter, and that sort of thing. All right, so we're working on a response, for you guys, that would be just looking at last month.
Right. And how soon are our new meters? When do we think our new meters will be in? February, March?
Once we get a go ahead. So, I believe availability is pretty good. We did have Leo talk with them about, when they would be ready, and they just need to come in from various locations. So once we get the pits ready, they have a 6-month contract. So within 6 months of work, and hopefully faster than that.
And in their bid, they show with some of the other projects they've done, it's arranged. We don't have a lot of detail about of projects, but there are a number of projects about our scale that would suggest that they could certainly hit that. They have hit numbers like 3 or 4 months in the past on some of their
Once
projects.
it's all ready, to happen, it really shouldn't take much time for the exchange to. It's a plug and play thing, really, and then setting up all the accessories.
Any others for Steve? Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Did Mike?
Yeah.
I guess he did. Okay. Unfinished number 6A, discussion action regarding PSC ruling regarding case number 250076 WSC. Can this be done in a clear?
Well, we don't have to mention any property owners or property addresses. I don't think.
Well, I want to defer to the finance officer.
Where's the sense of that?
Yeah, let's just go into ES on this at the end. Okay, new business 7B, discussion action regarding a John Brown Day resolution. Storm, this is yours.
Yeah, so I have a draft of it here for everybody. Oh, thank you. So this is something that has been kicking around for a very long time, and I consulted with a number of people on it, many drafts, and came up with something I think is fitting. I'll preface it by saying history matters, facts matter, and in society it's important that we preserve them and examine them and wrestle with them. If we don't, we turn our backs on one of the fundamental underpinnings of our free society. And we can't reach agreements if we don't acknowledge and agree upon facts. So this proclamation, of course, John Brown lists a lot of opinions of all sorts, was drafted to not characterize John Brown himself in one way or another, other than to describe his connection to our town. And I'll go ahead and read it. So this is a John Brown Day proclamation. Whereas John Brown was an abolitionist who chose Harper's Ferry as the location to start a movement to end slavery in the United States. Whereas the action known as John Brown's Raid started on October 16, 1859, and became a major catalyst of the Civil War. Whereas Harper's Ferry National Historical Park was first established as Harper's Ferry National Monument, and it recognized the importance of John Brown's Raid and the Civil War events that occurred in Harper's Ferry. And whereas in 1959, Harper's Ferry Mayor William F. Ramey stated, Harper's Ferry did not ask to be the scene of this episode, but Brown chose it as the stage for his dramatic adventure. Many books and articles have been written about the event and its impact on the pages of history. Therefore, we do not shun the publicity or seek to avoid its effect. As a matter of fact, we are rather proud to have played such an important part in the building of our nation, desperate as the venture was and horrible as the war that followed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Corporation of Harper's Ferry recognizes October 16th as John Brown Day in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia.
Kevin?
And is the intention for this to be October 16th every year or just this year?
Every year.
Can that be added in there?
Yes.
Does it need to be? Because it says October 16th. It doesn't say a year. I feel like it says
October 16th.
Yeah, but like
the day.
like the Indigenous Peoples Day,
On the state fourth.
we said, this and every.
Yeah, so if I may amend it to be, well, a motion has been made. Now therefore, be it resolved that from this day forth.
Is the motion been made?
No.
Oh,
Not yet. So I'm happy to see this come up on the agenda again. Back in about 2018 or 19, somewhere around there, I was contacted by a history teacher, a high school history teacher in New England, Vermont, I think, who asked if Harper's Ferry could celebrate John Brown Day every October 16th. And I introduced a resolution at that time, and it was shot down by like a 4-3 vote, I think. So I'm glad to see this come back on the agenda because really, John Brown is such a huge part of the history of Harper's Ferry. No matter what your opinion is of him or what he did.
I look at this, from a, didn't pigeonhole him either. I look at it, economically, and from the time that John Brown's Fort went on the road on its little road show there, and when it came back here, it remained the #1 tourist attraction in Harper's Ferry until well after World War II. Long before the park. And the park now, we have 550,000 visitors who come because of what John Brown did. And those visitors are the people that fuel our economy. And, recognizing John Brown's role in fueling that economy that's the least we can do. Regardless of what you thought about what he did, the fact of the matter is, our entire town runs on what he did. And recognizing that is important. And I'll just add that I would like, I think we could go even further in the celebration of Manifest Destiny that is Columbia Street be renamed John Brown Way one day, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I definitely think some of our streets need to be renamed.
Instead of Columbus Day.
Storm and I had, several discussions on this, and I just want to make it perfectly clear that neither Storm nor this council, if we approve it, in any way, the intent is to glamorize the vile and ruthless acts that John Brown perpetuated, okay? He did those acts, but we can't change it. But what the important thing is what happened afterward. We had a social change. And it's just too bad that that social change for slavery could not have happened nonviolently, very similar to Martin Luther King with the race issue and the social issue there. That we know that there was violence there also, but he did a masterful job in his message of nonviolence. So I just don't want, if anybody's listening to this or the media, we are not supporting nor condoning the vicious acts that he did, not only here, but in Kansas also.
Yeah.
They were vile, they were ruthless. That's not the issue. And I appreciate Storm putting his neck out there, no pun intended, on this issue. I know that it came up in 2018. I thought it was passed. Kevin.
Yeah, like, when I looked in the minutes, it was inspired in part from that episode, that it had been approved and a citizen volunteered to draft it, and then the next month came back and said, no, I can't really do it. And at that point, it was scuttled.
So it's like Kevin said, this is not a new issue, and it's and we'll see where this goes on the tally sheet here.
I would like,
Go ahead, Kev.
I'll just add one more thing. So while I'm working throughout the day in the courthouse there, I listen to podcasts a lot to help pass the time while I'm working. And one of the podcasts that I listen to almost every day is called Everything Everywhere Daily. And I don't remember how many followers it has, but it's a lot. The host's name is Gary Arndt, and Gary Arndt did a whole podcast about John Brown and his insurrection 2 weeks ago. And I have communicated with him a couple of times before on different things, but I didn't message him about his John Brown podcast because I wanted to wait until tonight to find out, which direction we're going to go on this. So tonight after I get home, I will be contacting Gary Arndt to let him know which way this goes.
Oh, we haven't voted yet.
Yeah,
Right now, I say what, up or down, right?
Go ahead, Storm.
I moved to approve. Oh, go ahead, Jesse.
I move to approve that I move that Harpers Ferry approve the Corporation of Harpers Ferry John Brown Day proclamation as presented.
Amended.
Amended.
Right?
Yeah.
I caught myself.
All right, is there a second? Can we get a second from David? Discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. Nice job, Storm. Discussion and action regarding a resolution of support for Harpers Ferry National Historic Park. I'll just say a word about this. I think that the leadership at the park, and we have one of them in here with us this evening, absolutely knows the position, I hope, of not only this town council, but a lot of, if not most of the residents. That's a step maybe I shouldn't take. Many residents in Harpers Ferry take toward the park and how important it is, Andrew. And you should know, and Tanya should know, how much this town council supports everything that you all do in preserving information and relics and everything else. And I'm very pleased that Storm took the time to put this together. Go ahead, Storm.
This is a resolution in support of Harpers Ferry National Historical Park. On this 13th day of October 2025, be it resolved that the Corporation of Harpers Ferry recognize the importance and mission of Harpers Ferry National Historical Park and commends its efforts to faithfully and truly preserve and interpret the full scope of history that occurred in Harpers Ferry.
Is there a second on the motion? There's a second from Jesse. Discussion.
Yes, I would just, sorry, Christian. Go ahead.
I had written a letter from a couple councils ago about the supporting the park. This was a letter to go to the senators of West Virginia. I don't know if we could do the same, it's not on it, well, it's sort of, I thought it was this item. So, because this letter was addressing our support of the park and how it has impacted our economy. But I don't know what happened to the letter.
They went out. Did they not? Debbie, do you recall?
I believe.
I believe.
Oh, you signed it and sent it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Go ahead,
Just a
discussion.
quick comment, you know, the Park Service and Harpers Ferry National Historic Park in particular, they've been put in an impossible position. And they have managed it extraordinarily well. When that article was published in the Washington Post about all the stuff that was going to happen here and all that, that could have gone a much, much different way, and it was handled well, it was navigated well. You know, people got to speak up about it, and it didn't turn into a disaster. I mean, that was a very precarious situation, and the management at Harpers Ferry National Historic Park has just managed through that tremendously well. You know, I was, as a resident, council member, I was really concerned about the way that it could go, and it went as well as it possibly could have.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed, 0. Motion carries 6-0. All right.
Oh, I forgot about it. That was a treat.
Dessert.
Huh?
Dessert, yes.
Dessert.
Last item.
Okay. I'm proposing that we go into town council goes into executive session for agenda item 6A, based upon exemptions from West Virginia Code 69A-4, exemption number 9, to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of property, advanced construction planning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Chair is requesting we go into executive session. Is there a motion?
The move.
Is there a second on the motion to go in? David, second. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion to go into executive session, raise your hand. Opposed, 0. Executive session, am I going to give authorization to Steve? And the chair is authorizing
Sure.
Steve.
And
Pardon me?
even though it's not.
And
That's very
and
good.
Debbie?
And, well, I'm sorry. Jeez, Debbie,
Everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so
We're out of executive session at 9:38. Motion to adjourn, David, and seconded by Jesse. And all,